All right, at 6:01, we will start February's EDC meeting. Roll call, everybody's here except Jared Reeves. Work session report, Veterans Memorial presentation.
At this time, I'm going to have the representatives from MMA go ahead and come up and kind of speak to the vision for the memorial, the center of the park, and what that entails.
I'm Dwayne Joyner with MMA in Arlington. We're a multidisciplinary firm. We've got surveyors, civil engineers, landscape architects, and planners. And I'm a landscape architect. Brandon's a planner working on being a landscape architect. Bryant got in touch with us about this project, and we had given the city a proposal for kind of a full-scale master planning thing that was really more than what y'all needed at the moment. So we backed it up a little bit and simplified it, and that's what we've got here. Is there a way to do y'all have this image in front of you, or? It doesn't do much good if y'all don't have the image. It'll help you a little bit. There you go.
Oh, it's on the keyboard.
Oh, okay. Won't you do that for me while I talk? Just zoom in, say, get that right there. This plan doesn't propose doing anything to the stage or to the children's playground. That's all remains untouched. This initial phase that Brent asked us to refer to as phase 1, it would include making provisions to move the butterfly garden from where it is, where the cursor is. It's in that vicinity, and it would be moved to the area over by the city hall. There's some accessories there, being trash can. I think there's a water fountain over there that would be removed to make room for that butterfly garden. The master plan would include a new Veterans Memorial of some sort, as indicated where the old butterfly garden was. In addition to that, we're showing the flagpoles in front of the tower there, and we're talking about using some that are 27 to 30 feet tall, so we'll get it above that tower. Talking about 2 poles, so we'd probably have the state flag and the U.S. flag, and both of those flags would be lit. One of the biggest things that we've included in this effort would be, we've been made aware there are numerous drainage issues that focus mainly, that compass graphic you see there is where the existing memorial and fountain is, and that would be demoed and removed. We would preserve the bronze eagle in the center, preserve anything else on that existing memorial that y'all would like to see reused in another fashion. We had one idea of taking that bronze eagle and placing it in the location of the future memorial and having a sign to go with it indicating that was what was going to happen in that location. Other than that, probably the biggest thing we're talking about doing that's going to cause a disturbance in this space, even more so than removing that memorial in the middle, is solving the drainage problems. We don't know the severity of those because we don't have a hard topo survey. We know we've got an inlet on the, yeah, right, somewhere in that vicinity, maybe a little closer, a little further down. Yeah, that's right. And we don't know exactly what all is going to be entailed there without having a topo survey showing us all the existing drainage structures and the elevation of everything that's involved. And that's Did I leave out anything? And that's what we looked at. It's difficult to come up with pricing in a situation like this because everything you price it on, we don't have. We don't have quantities for anything because it's not been taken to that level. But with the drainage, I mean, there would need to be a surveyor hired to do the work. There would need civil engineering work for the grading, landscape architecture, which would be the work I do designing it. We would need an electrical engineer and a structural engineer and a geotechnical engineer. The geotechnical, if you're not familiar with that, they test the soil and they advise architects, structural engineers, how you have to construct something so that it's going to stay right where it's at and be there 20 years down the road. And that can get extremely expensive. We recently built a project at Veterans Park in Arlington, Korean War Memorial and a memorial to the fallen. And I don't know what soil Kennedale has, but we'd still want to do a soil survey even if it was sandy. I don't know what's out here. But for example, there we had to go down 30 feet with concrete piers just for sidewalks. Because we knew what had happened before, we had a new geotech done, and that it just jacks up your price a whole lot for for paving. But those things are really important because when it's done that way, you know it's going to stay right where you put it. And in our soils, that cause so much problems when things move. But preliminary estimate would be anywhere from 150 to about 190, 150K to 190K. I'm not going to be surprised if that was way more than what you may have had in mind, but that's what we see this first phase taking.
At a worst case scenario?
I like to think of it as a best case. And what I mean by that is we can give you a good product for that price, a product that's going to be worth what you paid for it. You know, you can always get something cheaper, but that doesn't mean it's not always equal or good enough even.
But that's not including any of the current concrete track or pathway that we have.
What do you mean?
That's, currently we have a concrete trail.
Sidewalk?
The sidewalks.
Well, some of the sidewalk may have to be modified depending on what's going on with the drainage.
Okay.
That's a bit of an unknown, you know.
But the pricing you're giving, is that including
That
new
includes
sidewalks?
That includes redoing what we're saying we take out, which is just around that center monument piece.
Okay.
We'd have to do some new concrete for the light poles, if nothing else, just a foundation for them. But the only flat work that includes is what we'd have to do around that center memorial. That would include the grading. If we had to put in pipe, that includes repairing irrigation, that includes, patching, removing the sod at the existing butterfly garden, using sod to fix up where it was. That price would get you back to square one as far as the condition of the park. The irrigation would be repaired, all the landscape would be repaired, light poles would be up with lights, having that new paving accent in the center. At that point, per my discussions, the only thing that would be left to be done is that new memorial.
So be phase one, then phase two.
Yeah. And as far as the cost on the memorial, that's really open-ended, depending on what you want and how much you can raise. Those two we did in Arlington was together, they were like 1.26 million. But that doesn't include what the city paid consultants, which was about 150, which is not unusual. It's about 10% of construction costs, plus or minus.
On that irrigation that you referenced there to the right-hand side by the parking lot, is there visible damage there currently? And I'm just not overly familiar with that area, but
I'm really just talking about there, doing what we're talking about doing, we're gonna damage stuff. We're gonna have to cap stuff and do some work and then rerun it.
There's
But in one of the things we would suggest when you do this, and you're gonna have to, when you retrofit your system, is run through the whole system and make sure everything's working that's on that system before they walk off. But as far as damage out there right now, I can't speak to that.
okay.
So is this taking the existing design of the lighting for the memorial and the fountain or the font, and you're talking about removing that, and that's where the costs are coming
Once
from?
that one goes, I would invite you to rethink it,
Okay, so
because
this doesn't even cover that part.
it cover removing that one.
This just takes the existing fountain out,
Yes.
the lighting out.
Yes.
The eagle stays there, or the eagle also gets moved as part of this?
can you zoom into that centerpiece for me? And then scroll up towards the center
The center.
of the park where the fountain is currently.
Sorry.
So
Currently, it's
we,
there.
right, so over the last few months, we've met 10+ times, and the overall decision from the committee was that having your memorial in the center of the park, this park is multi-use. So it's where we host our events, it's where we do a lot of different things. It's not a bona fide memorial park. So when you talk about memorials, they should be placed in spaces where they're going to have certain reverence. They draw people in for that purpose. So rather than putting it in the middle of the park, which is one of the reasons why it's kind of in the condition it's in right now, that's what drove the decision matrix on relocating it. With that, we did talk about the pieces that are there, the stones that are already engraved. We're going to harvest all of those. We're going to get in touch with the families and get those returned. We're also going to make note of the families who have already been identified so that we can also add them to whatever new design we come up with. But for the purposes of what we were tasked with, that made the most sense, was relocating it. So really what you're looking at in the center there is a complete overhaul. You're going to demo the whole thing. That nautical sign there is basically flat work. So when you walk into the park, if you can envision in your mind, you walk past the clock tower, it's completely flat. You can see everything. Instead of having your two flags, the fountain, and these other obstructions, it creates a very wide open space that's a little bit more inviting as well.
And as you approach it from, I don't have my directions straight here, but from the parking lot, you would wind up at completion with a memorial on each side of the tower with the flags.
And then coming back to you said kind of the high end might be 190. Can you just recap? 190 gets us to what's on this page here, or 190 just gets us to the flat work, the butterfly garden?
No, it gets you what you see on this sheet.
With the exception of the actual memorial itself.
Well, yeah, it's proposed on this sheet, so we're covered.
Okay.
Wait, I'm so confused. So the memorial on the lower left that we're going to move to, the 190 doesn't include that at all?
The 190 includes eliminating the existing one except for the items you want to keep. If you have a panel that's engraved or the eagle, if there's anything that's part of that one you want to keep and reuse, we can do that. Other than that, that fountain, that memorial will be gone.
And when you say keep, you mean keep it in its current spot or move it to the same location on the left?
Remove it and keep it to
Like in
maybe
the-
use on the future memorial.
Like in a warehouse somewhere.
Right. So one of the members of our committee has volunteered to help with that harvest. He's going to take the eagle from the current memorial and to his shop, and he's going to get it cleaned up and dressed up, and then it could be repurposed for the location of the new memorial. I think your question, if I'm not mistaken, is you're asking if any of that we've discussed, if that estimate includes the new memorial. It does not.
That's the one I was talking about. We just did two that was 1.26 million.
But one of the things to understand too is that you're really talking about concept right now.
Yes.
We haven't moved forward from that with engineered plans, things of that nature. And the reason is because those things have associated costs. So before we can do that, we have to know that what the committee came up with is going to get the support and approval from the EDC. You can't put the cart before the horse. So it's impossible to come up with engineered plans and have a finalized, detailed rendition of what your space is going to look like without some of those key components in that work being done. So.
Yeah, so my comment on that really is just, and twofold, I guess. What I struggle with, to your point, is let's just say we commit 150,000 to this project, everybody's happy, we move forward. But then when we get to phase two and we actually do build a memorial, we have no clue what that looks like cost-wise. So to this gentleman's point, it could be well over $1 million. Obviously, that's probably not the case, but having no visibility into that financial cost, if we got to this, we had 150, and then we do this, and for whatever reason, we don't have the funds to achieve what we want for the next step, that's my concern. We might have to cut back on something that everybody's not really happy with, but we're in a situation where we've already paid 150 to get it back to square one, to your point. Now that next cost is unknown. So that's really is there any way can we get any further? I would rather make a $5,000 mistake and get plans drawn up than commit. And I'm not saying that's the way we should do it, just from my perspective.
No, I agree. I think one of the reasons that I started that planning process with the committee as a multi-phased process is because it's twofold. One, because you're creating time, which gives you an opportunity to move through your phases, which also gives you an opportunity to raise the funds. So one thing we discussed is the need for community partnerships. There's grant money available for the memorial specifically. There's grant money available for that. You have the opportunity to set up a nonprofit and do fundraising, host events while some of this work is going on. It's a perfect opportunity to discuss why we're doing the work. And those are opportunities to raise funds alongside whatever commitment the EDC is willing to make. Without your engineered plan or your finalized details of what that space looks like, it's hard to pin a number to it. But phase one, phase two could be completed. Phase three would be the actual construction of the memorial itself, and that can be decided on a timeline based on what we're comfortable with. If you do all the other work first, you've basically created the space for it where it's intended to go. And then as you're able to along the way, decide how to fund that or what's appropriate for funding for that.
And
So rather than making a mistake or losing the money because you started construction, but you don't really know where you're going, it's 3 phases. Get phase one and phase two done, and now you've got the space ready for that purpose, and you can decide how to fund it at that point.
And just as a kind of a point of trivia that might give you a little bit of hope, I think funding for these can kind of come from unusual sources or unexpected or something you didn't plan on. The veterans group over in Arlington, they got $200,000 from the Korean government for that, one of those memorials. And they sent people over, they had a dozen people at the ribbon cutting from Korea for that memorial. So I'm not a fundraiser and I'm not involved with veterans groups, but if nothing else, those projects taught me you can get the money.
And something that I could have done a better job in the beginning before I invited them to speak was kind of introducing some of the members of the committee. So one of the members of the committee, his name is Paul Folks, and he actually sat on and helped establish the entity that raised the funds to build the memorials in Veterans Park alongside the city support. And so he's well-versed in these things. Some of those options I just discussed were recommendations that came from him, and he's more than willing to help that process, guide that process. So
That's great. Thanks for sharing that. That helps a lot. I did have one other question, then I'll stop. So in the center there, where we're going to essentially remove everything in the center of the park, it's just going to be flat. I think we all agree that's good. Has there been any consideration about maybe putting a Kennedale logo in the middle? Has there been any conversation around that?
This is purely conceptual, and, before it ever went out to bid, so to speak, we'd get everybody's sign off that we needed to get, and y'all would have,
yeah.
all the stakeholders would have input.
Yeah, so what you're seeing here is we started this process in December. When we had 10+ meetings. I had 4 veterans on my committee, and then I also had invited, at the time, Mayor Pro Tem Michaels and also Kim. They brought their expertise, they brought their understanding of EDC and KKB's needs. So we considered all those things. As far as what you're seeing here, we did talk about a Kennedale K. We talked about a lot of different things. This is kind of a result of all that collaboration rolled up into one visual.
So I agree with Tyson. I'd rather spend $5,000 or $10,000 to get a harder number for phase 3, so we know what we're dealing with. One of my concerns would be, we agreed to do phase 1 with the unknown phase 2 or phase 3. We take everything down, we park it somewhere, and then things change, priorities change. We don't get back to this for a couple of years, and now we've completely removed the Veterans Memorial and don't have time or the resources to put it back in. So that kind of gives me some heartburn. But I guess, Brian, my question to you would be, for the veterans that were on the committee, because really we wanted to hear from them to say, this is for you. What do you want to see the city spend its resources on? What was their feedback on this? Was this what they wanted, or did they have something else in mind? Just curious what their feedback was.
Yeah, this mostly meets that. I mean, the task that we received with minimal guidance or instruction, and we started from scratch, having to both figure out what's the target and also how to meet it. And so, there's only so much time. What we've come up with here, the reason why these gentlemen used the pentagonal shape there is because that was absolutely something that we discussed. I actually think Mayor Pro Tem Michaels might have been at that meeting when we walked the space, and everyone was really captivated by our 9/11 memorial. They liked the design, they liked the reverence that it commanded, and so that's kind of why the shape is there. As far as the finite details, things that were discussed that were important were water feature, capturing all of our conflicts and having those represented. So with this design, we could do something almost the same as the 9/11. So you have it mapped out this way, and each headstone can be dedicated to a conflict or something of that nature, to kind of break it apart and put the service members in the appropriate places where they served or something of that nature. We talked at great length about how to capture their names and how to identify their branch of service, all those kind of details. I don't know if that answers your question, but yeah. Okay.
Just to somewhat add, particularly where we're at now. So if we're looking at 190,000, one of the things that we were looking at, and honestly, to a certain point, the reason why this even started was the problems that we have with the fountain itself. The foundation is not correct. It leaks. There's issues with that. Then as we continue to look at it, we also know we have drainage issues. So when it rains, the park is, almost, you might as well say it's flooded. You can't go on the sidewalks, there's puddles everywhere, it's massively saturated. So whenever we're talking about a phase process, that's what it is. We're looking at first, we need to fix the foundation of the park itself. I think that's one of the issues that we currently have. And even for us to move forward and just say where it currently stands, it needs to be fixed. The concept of moving it, I think, is somewhat of an afterthought. The thought of building or creating or fixing the fountain was the topic of, if we're going to have something, let's build something we can be proud of, that not continue as broke or leaking, or we have a drainage issue, or we have something that's taking place in the park. Because once it rains, you pretty much have to stay off of it. And that's some of the things we've had to do the last year and a half, is stay off the grass because it continues to kill it. Then the appearance, the image of the park is not where it needs to be. So that's some of the background of where we're at now, is mainly the fountain needed to be fixed. With that, as we go forward, and what he's explaining, some of the things we need to fix to begin with, or some of just the fundamentals of the foundation of it. So for me, I do look at it as a phase. First, we got to fix what we have before we can come in, and I'll just say a $1.2 million memorial. Hopefully it's not that, but it's not going to do us any good to go build a $1.2 million memorial and our park is not to standard. So I think it's important, one, we get the foundation where it needs to be. I'm shocked by the numbers myself, but that's either here
I
or
knew
there.
you would be.
But I just wanted to give you a little bit more background. You haven't been able to hear some of it as we move forward. But originally, all of this started as, hey, let's at least fix what we have. And that was the fountain itself. But as we move forward and we understand, one, what is the park, or technically the plaza, Town Center Plaza, what is the purpose? Why is it here, and what are we wanting to do for the future of this plaza? And we feel if we open it up, it's going to better serve our community and what we're doing inside the park itself, particularly like Hometown Christmas, for say. I asked that we keep the centerpiece there so I can continue to put the Christmas tree there in the middle. Obviously that's a value that I have in it. But also I agree that it opens the park up. It gives more, a better feeling. It's not, packed in there, which leads me to some of the other questions. The trees that we have around in the center, are they coming up and we're just moving them?
The only reason they would have to is, it would depend upon grading to solve the drainage problem.
Okay.
If that doesn't make us get rid of them, then it's your choice. And we could even keep them if you wanted to.
Would you be able to just pull them up and take them to a
I'd have
different
to
park?
look at them. If they're large ones, probably not. If there's, we just have, I can't answer that right now.
From my background in landscaping, anything is possible. It just, again, the more you ask for, and what you ask for, it's always going to come with a cost.
Yeah.
Oh, and with that said, and first, and I don't want it done not correct. If we're going to do it, I want it to be exactly what we want. There's always a price tag in whatever we do, but we're going to do it right, and we're going to do it right the first time. Anyway, my point, phase one, is to hopefully correct what needs to be corrected before we go and truly put into a $190,000 fix and have a $1 million memorial. I'd rather spend the 190.
Since we're on that topic, can I just ask, if in order to specifically design that piece, to get to a point where we know what we're looking at, what would it cost for us to work with you guys to get an actual ring? Based on the information that I've gotten
I'll
from the
have to
committee.
get back to you.
It's an on-the-spot question. I didn't think you'd have an answer, but
because I'm not sure exactly what you want, you know.
Okay.
Having documents we could give to a contractor to bid's one thing,
Right.
and coming up with a great concept that could be priced is another. And you're probably, I can get that answer, but I'll need to talk to you some more probably. Because that's going to require buy-in from everybody on that design. That's going to require input from whoever y'all want to have input. And that's kind of that could be a lengthy, that can take time and effort to do that. Adjacent to that, I would say your cheapest way to accomplish this is all at once. By doing it in phases, you're adding money. Just because and I can't quantify that either, but it does wind up costing you more to do it that way. But some of the costs, like getting to that design that everybody wants, you're going to have that cost no matter what. But some of the consultants I was talking about in doing that proposed memorial, we'd have to hire those same consultants again. Structural, electrical, you know, and it's just easier to hit it all at once. I can imagine that, it's not what you got in mind, but it can be cheaper that way.
I mean, I would like to maybe have more discussion around at least preparing plans. To your point, you're going to have to pay either way. Today, tomorrow, next year, we're going to have to pay for it. So, and also during a fundraising process, just thinking through this, if they're already breaking ground, just getting it back to ground zero. The community seeing construction, maybe they're more willing to donate money. When people see things in action, they like to maybe donate. So personal preference, I would rather go that route, get the design in place, sell it to the community, and just my preference.
So if we go that route, say we get the design of the memorial itself, can we do the engineering studies now? And say if it's 2 years from now of actually doing the construction?
We can prepare a full set of documents for you, and they can sit on the shelf a year or two. Now, we'd want to pull them back out and look at them again in light of what the conditions are when you want to go to construction.
Okay,
But actually, we do that all the time.
thank you.
Okay, so let me make sure. Phase one is going to be removing the fountain, fixing the drainage, and moving the butterfly garden?
Yes, sir.
So,
And
okay,
moving eliminating the current flag poles and giving you some bigger ones.
okay.
And the lighting for those flag poles.
On the flag posts, I mean, I kind of think I would like to see them at the entrance of the park, not behind the park, where there's 6 crepe myrtles, if there's any way that we can move it up more to the parking area instead of by the tower, because I think the tower is going to block the view of the flags.
One of the considerations we had with that's a good point. We did talk about that. But we also kind of, if you move them too far out, you might not have enough space for, if you're going to host any kind of event or anything there, but you could bring them out. One of the ways we were going to mitigate the obstructions for those flags, right now they're considerably small compared to the tower. So you wouldn't just pluck them up how they are and move them to the front of the tower. The discussion was that they would be upgraded in size. So those won't be salvaged, they'll actually be replaced with 2 larger that will not be dwarfed by the tower, that will actually, I think I was able to get them the specs of the tower, so they kind of considered that in the plan. Right.
30.
Yeah.
We're still going to have a problem with the flags hitting the tower. Because think about a 40-foot flagpole, how big does that flag have to be to fly
Well,
properly?
I don't have the actual schematics in front of me, so I can't tell you, but I can tell you that that was considered, and if we moved forward with that, that would have to be the case. They'd have to be taller than the tower and able to fly without running into the tower. Otherwise, you can pull them further out.
Right, that's what I was thinking, pull them farther out and we wouldn't have to buy a bigger pole. All right.
The other thing about cost is with the inclusion of a fountain in the future one, that adds a lot of cost. Not just construction costs, but maintenance cost. And I love fountains. There's nothing like them. There's also nothing like one in a bad way that doesn't work. And I don't
I
want to
agree.
discourage you from that. I just want you to know what you're doing when you ask us to do a fountain for you. Because it could be $100,000 itself. It seems crazy, I know, but they're very expensive and they never leave you alone. It's got to have somebody looking at it all the time. And I love them. I'll be happy to do you one. I just, be careful what you ask for.
I'm hearing that a lot.
They're very much one of those elements that you have to do it right. If it's not done right, it'll never be right.
That's the reason why we asked for your help.
Yeah.
Any more questions?
Any more? Thank y'all, gentlemen.
Thank you. Appreciate it.
Discussions, item 2, discussions on bids for the Chamber of Commerce building renovations. And that's exterior right now only? Correct. Okay.
Yes, I have received 3 bids to renovate pretty much renovate the outside of the chamber building here in the town center. The 3 bids range from 28,000, 25,000, and just over 19,000. We have met with all 3 of the contractors, and we believe we're ready to make a decision and get the chamber building where it needs to be. And what that consists of, there's 6 outer doors. Those 6 doors will be replaced, painted, and where it needs to be. All the exterior wood that has damage or tends to have more damage as we go, all that will be replaced, including any of the window sills or window frames that's there. Some of the railings that's going around the walkway, what's broke will be fixed or replaced. All of it will be painted. So the exterior of the building will be painted, including the trim, everything. The guardrail, or not guard, the rails for walking will be the same thing. They will be painted to match what the current colors are. It'll be the roof as well. The tin will be power washed and cleaned as well. So the exterior should come out looking pretty much brand new.
Exterior landscaping, the sprinklers, have they been taken care of so they don't spray on the wood anymore?
Well, once we get it all corrected, we're currently having a landscape company come out and redesign where those will be. Currently, we're not looking at putting any landscaping back in other than just the grass itself.
Okay.
But once we do that, it'll be a lot easier for us to manage the sprinkler system. Currently, when we had the landscaping in it, it was all covered. The sprinklers were going everywhere. But it was all covered up as well.
Darryl, do you have those bids available for us to look at all?
Yes, sir, I do.
Okay. And what about the type of paint? I mean, they have various types of paints that will protect wood, or do we want to go with wood around those window sills or replace them with something else? Vinyl or aluminum or whatever.
We didn't look into the option of changing any of the material. We did ask for it to be sealed, a sealant to be put back on it for the protection of the wood itself. As far as the type of paint, Sherman-Williams or what, that I do not know.
The siding would change it from, if you put the siding on it, it wouldn't have the look of a section house. The wood matches the original section house design. So I don't know if you put some aluminum or some vinyl on there, it's not going to look like the original railroad section house, like it's supposed to. I don't know if you could incorporate that correctly. It'd been something they should have done when they built it originally.
Well, things are possible. You know, they got various materials now that will blend in with that pretty good. Have we looked into those? So that's all I'm saying. That'll cut down on maintenance. That'll cut down on maintenance over
Definitely.
time.
Yeah. Well, it's definitely possible we can go back if we're looking at wanting to put some type of vinyl siding or something to that effect. Obviously, we can do that as well. At that point, it's going to be outside our budget for that. So it's something we'll have to reevaluate.
How long did it last like this time?
I
How
believe
many
it
years
was,
did we get out of it?
I believe it was built in 2009. So roughly we're at 15 years, which is pretty average.
That's pretty good. I think nothing's going to last forever no matter what we do.
That's correct.
Well, the whole thing about it is when you look at vinyl and stuff like that, a lot of times vinyl windows or stuff like that, they say they give a lifetime warranty, but we're just fixing the trim around it. So, I mean, you can buy vinyl, you can do hardy board, which is concrete board, but depending how that structure was built, it might not support the hardy board. So we're better off going off with wood and then make sure that, Texas weather and stuff like that, I mean, you need to paint your house about every 10 years to protect it. And that's just the whole problem of it is we've had landscaping that was overgrown, and then the sprinkler systems would come on, and then it would spray back to the building. And then even the doors are starting to crack because they're wood. Pretty much the sprinkler system was spraying on the door the whole time, and that just ate the finish off of it, and no one has done any type of maintenance on it since it was built. So we just had to do a better job of doing maintenance on it.
The things that you're talking about, I just went through with my house, so that's why I'm asking. That's all. That's all.
Daryl, what was the budget for this?
The overall budget was 57,000 but that also included other maintenance of the building itself as well. It was actually budgeted roughly around 25,000. And that was a rough number then, but we actually got the numbers in. So right now we're coming in under budget.
Sounds about right for the level of work.
Are any of the bids located in Kennedale, any of the companies?
No, sir. We have Arlington, Fort Worth, and Fort Worth. It was just a work session to just let you know where we're at. It is a budgeted item. We're looking at moving forward with the lowest bid.
Okay, thank you. Item 3, grant opportunities for point of sale.
Yep. So whenever I joined the EDC, I wanted to understand the goal of the EDC, and the goal obviously is to economic development, help current businesses, future businesses. How do we accomplish that? So, you know, this was a thought that I had brought to Daryl. It's a small bite of the apple. It could be something that is beneficial for current companies in the city of Kennedale, as well as possibly companies coming into Kennedale as a benefit. But my thought was, I work in tax and finance every day, and this is a blue collar city. I mean, that's just what this city is. And so when you look at some of the businesses that I use here, that some of you have used in the city, the point of sale systems could use some updating. Not only could they use updating, some of them don't even have point of sale. There's some cash businesses in the city, I'm sure. So my thought was to educate these business owners via EDC funds. Not only educate the business owners, but also provide them a solution, an updated point of sale system. I'm sure everybody's gone to a restaurant lately with a new point of sale system, and as soon as you put your card in, it immediately asks you for a tip. Or the gas station, they're asking you for a tip. So this could benefit, depending on the business, it could benefit the business greatly because they now no longer have to pay someone to say, you know, be kind, you know, asking for a tip, where it's simply the point of sale system. Do you tip? Do you not tip? It could be a very clean, easy way for them to possibly increase revenue. Secondarily, it's going to make reporting a lot easier for these companies when it comes to tax time. They can just simply print out monthly rolls and hand those over. Some companies probably do that now, maybe some don't, but those that don't, would be a great opportunity for them to learn and put these systems in. And then for new businesses coming in, you know, maybe they need some assistance setting up their point of sale system, some education. That could be a benefit as well. So that's kind of where the conversation started. I'll leave it at that. I think it'd be a great benefit for the small businesses of the city. Like I said, it's not going to solve any major problems, but, you know, increasing the current businesses here and how efficient they are could only be a benefit to the city. So that's kind of how I saw it.
Do you have any questions?
Which brand are you going with, or what are you thinking for the point of sale?
Yeah, so I don't deal in that arena. I know the only one I know of is really Square. I'm sure there's other opportunities out there. Somebody that owns a small business in the city, or we're walking around, we could probably all just look and see what they have and then come back with comments, but no preference. It's really just simply trying to get these business owners that maybe are scared to, don't know how to, don't have the funds to get a new point of sale in place and educate themselves and their staff. This would be an opportunity for the EDC to help. So,
I mean, even this weekend, the Rotary Club, when we were doing the chili, they were taking payments on their phone using Stripe, and it was easy. I mean, it's a frictionless transaction for sure, just using our credit cards and their phone. So I agree, there's a lot of opportunities out there. I wonder, though, how many businesses who are cash only or cash only by choice.
yeah,
But not a bad idea.
yeah.
You're right, if they're cash only, they are cash only by choice. There is several, we'll leave it at that. But there's always, somebody new comes in, that might be something that could help them. Honestly, I don't see how you can not have a point of sale system in this age, period, if you're going to have any type of business. It's hard to do any type, now, it's not definitely, you don't have to have an internet point of sale, just a card number only, but just to take cards. Even small businesses out of home they'll probably take card payments, even though it's an internet-based.
We could partner with a company and just kind of have a company just kind of say, hey, we partnered with Stripe or Square or whatever, and then if you're new to Kennedale and you need some help, reach out to them and they'll be happy to help you out.
Well, I think the bigger thing is, one, we have a grant opportunities for it, and it goes up to 25,000. But on a point of sale, they could be a lot of different things. Personally, is reporting. Not only does it help us track our sales tax that's coming in, But more importantly, if they have an inventory, if they have different inventory in a sense, it helps them reporting and it helps them look from the past sales and helps them look to the future, what they can do better. There's a lot of reporting that's associated with the point of sale. The biggest one is being inventory and how they can go about expanding their business, what their number one sell is versus what maybe their number 20 is, and what they can do to go in and hopefully correct or improve on what their sales are in a sense. And I think that's some of what you're indicating. Some of them, they do have Square, and Square does some of those reportings, but also it takes the training to understand what that point of sale is. And with a grant opportunity to do that, somebody can take the effort to understand exactly what they're going to get out of it. And it's just like you're saying, there's Square, there's multiple that just do a credit card transaction, but a point of sale actually goes beyond that. It's giving you software that you can go in and you build your business, and it helps you manage that business to what the capabilities are. And I think that's the biggest part, is helping the business grow and being more prosperous, not only for them, but for the city as a whole.
I think one of the biggest things associated with point of sale is security, which is why I think most banks are more secure than Square. I've dealt with Square in the past, and the security there was almost nothing there. But also, I learned through the banks that you have to have a chip reader as well, because if you don't have a chip reader, your client or customer can go back and return that or rescind that sale, and they still have the item, and you're out of the item and out of the money. So it's basically secure as well, security.
So is this is there kind of two parts? Like there's the grant opportunity. We had indicated before it was like $25,000 grant for businesses that are starting here, and then also an education piece that comes with that. And are we being the host of that, or are we connecting them to resources?
Every provider will have an in-house trainee or something of the such that's an expert on that product. And they're going to be the ones making a profit. So from my experience, they send somebody out not only to install, but to educate, from my experience, not on our cost. Yeah. And again, I don't know the logistics of it. It really benefits business and their growth to have a more efficient system, better tracking system. More data is a good thing when you're running a business. So I'm not sure logistically how we get it to these businesses, how we notify them that maybe they have an opportunity, but it's a start maybe.
Well, I think a good opportunity there is the cooperation or partnership with the chamber is probably a good place to start. I mean, typically, when a new business starts in said city, they'll become a member of the chamber or hear about it, and a lot of those opportunities are there to be able to connect them because they'll have inventory of, who's who, new businesses that have popped up and things of that nature.
And I think there's also, and I've slept since we discussed the percentage, but something in the range of a 20% reimbursement or cost match if you upgrade the facade of your business in the city of Kennedale. So as the city becomes more business friendly, we now not only have that the chamber could sell, but then they could also say, we're here to help you with your point of sale system. We have grants available for that as well. Just more ways for the city to benefit new businesses, current businesses on a go forward. So
one more question I have about the point of sales. So do we already have a relationship with a community partner that can offer that, or are we currently looking?
this is in its infancy. We're in the top of the first. So, yeah, no, we have no partnerships or anything like that, to my knowledge.
No, we do not.
Tyson, I have a few contacts that I could connect you with if you want to spearhead that we've changed our systems about 5 or 6 different times for my small business and also for my families. So I've made some pretty good relationships, but I can connect you if you want to maybe talk to them more about that.
Yeah, I mean, you or I, either one. I need to probably coordinate with Daryl on how how it's executed. You know, we can very easily find a provider, I would assume, that would want, you know, access to the city of Kennedale and the city's resources to market it. But I think logistically, we need to figure out, can the chamber sell it? Is it worth the time to spend, and are we going to use it? So I think maybe Daryl and I can talk about it, or if anybody has any thoughts on that. Can the chamber get it out to the communities of the city?
Another good point there too is that if the city's already has a processor that they use, they might already have a relationship that would be beneficial if those connections are already there and they're willing to do that.
And just to kind of put a bow on it, Daryl, I'll circle back with you, maybe around execution on how to get it out to the city. Does that seem fair? Okay.
Okay, thank y'all. Item 4, discussion on farmer's market. We try it again.
It's your turn.
Thanks. Hi, I'm
Make sure you
Elizabeth.
Make sure it's down.
Good. Oh, yeah, that's good. I'm Elizabeth, this is Sarah, and we are working on actually 2 projects right now. Do you want us to cover both of them in the same breath, or? Okay.
Yes, that's fine.
All right,
And-
so,
and
the
let them know
fir-
who you are too,
Elizabeth Partridge.
with the library.
With the library and communications, and then Sarah is actually with the library and EDC, 50%. So we're working on the 2 big projects that are coming up for March and April, and both of them are brand new. So we are trying to get a jump on not just what they're going to look like, but how we're going to make them sustainable for the future. So the first one is March 9th, and you've probably seen it going around social media already. We're doing our very first car show, and so we brought you some flyers so you can see what that's looking like. We have a car show promoter who is DFW Car Show Info, and he also owns a trophy shop. So he is coordinating the entire part of the car show, and he got that part sponsored by Smiley's, so it's actually not costing us anything to do that. And then, as part of the promotional side, we are having T-shirts made for this endeavor, and those are going to be available for sale and for prizes throughout the day. And hopefully, with the big picture in mind, providing T-shirts of all Kennedale activities for sale throughout the year is the end goal for that. But for this one, they're for sale for that day, and we'll be providing the shirts to give away as prizes during the races, which is the World of Outlaws sprint car races in the evening over at the Speedway. So, excuse me. You've probably seen signs up already for the car show? Yes? No? So thank you. It's looking for validation here. We'll also have checkered flags being put up on several of the roadways and then leading over to the park itself. And then 3 more signs are going up saying welcome racers and fans to the races closer to the date of the actual races. And it's pretty significant because we're anticipating, or at least the Speedway is anticipating, 4,000 people in attendance. So we're hoping to be able to bring them downtown, show them what the downtown-ish area looks like for us. And then we've also gone to talk to all of the restaurants, which I understand there are fewer now, but maybe I'll talk to you in a minute. But the restaurants that are over in Town Center Plaza, we have them with posters, and they've all been made aware of the possibility of a large number of people, and they have all been encouraged to provide a special during that time, and we will advertise that special during our promotion of this event. And they all seemed very encouraged by that and wanted to participate. Even the nail people thought they might run a nail special, so we'll see. But the promoter actually will be announcing all of these activities as well. So they'll be getting double promotion for their participation. So that's the first one. Did you want to add anything?
About food trucks?
Oh, we did get food trucks, so that will be here at this event. There is a barbecue one, which is the one that's down by the
The W3D. the
W3D, yeah. And then we ended up finding some over at one of the food parks, and so there will be an Indian food truck, so that's awesome. And then a new one.
Yeah, one guy that he's actually local and he has 2 food trucks. It's like hot snacks for one, and then snow cones and funnel cakes and all that fried fair food that we shouldn't eat. But yeah, so he's coming too. So I think there will be a total of 4 food trucks.
And that can be a nice segue for us into the next event, because the next event is for April, what's the 20th? I was like, April 20th, and it is our farmer's market. So that was what was on your agenda. So the farmer's market is, obviously there has been some interest in residents in Kennedale to receive produce throughout the year and have an opportunity to purchase produce, fresh produce. And so this is our attempt at filling that need in our community. And we are partnering with the Arlington Foodies group, which provides the Pantego Farmers Market, as well as one other. And they are going to help us coordinate it for 6 months. And then it will be absorbed somehow by the city after that. And that's, we'll be working on that for 6 months. But so far, the idea is that we want her to help us get it set up, get it started, and then be able to have a nice, clean package to hand off to whatever the next organization or entity is. And we are trying very hard to find produce suppliers, actual farmers that can get us real produce. And so we have already reached out to several community farms or gardens. And we have participation secured for 2 of them. One of them is Jovita's garden. She has already, if you know Jovita, she is already committed to participating in that. And then she's going to be spreading the word that we need suppliers for that. It will also include craft items and things of that nature that you're used to seeing at a farmer's market, but we want to really emphasize and make produce a priority, so. And the food truck, the segue, there was an actual segue. So the food truck is, we got a couple of them to participate in that on a regular basis as well. So one of them is a coffee truck. Since this is going to be at 8 a.m., we definitely want a coffee truck. So did you guys have any questions?
If we happen to have vendors or people that want to participate, where do we direct them to go to secure a spot and produce their permitting and things of that nature?
That's going to be through the Arlington Foodies, and that promotional information will be going out soon. We're meeting with her again next week to finalize all of the necessary information. They are actually providing a space on their webpage, so we'll direct them from our webpage to their webpage to go actually sign up, register, and become a part of it. And then they will eventually just transfer all of that over to us, so.
This may be a question you don't have an answer to, but will this farmer's market have the opportunity to sign up for deliveries, or is it going to be expected that you show up and
You show up.
you take what you, or you buy what you want?
Correct, you show up. Are you looking for produce boxes for delivery?
Was just wondering, that was
So I'm just gonna
service
take-
that was going to be part of that.
1 second for a little bit of a plug, because through the senior center, if you are a senior citizen, you do have the option to receive some produce boxes for delivery through the Meals on Wheels program. So if anybody does need that, they can contact me. If you're a senior, that's the disclaimer, you have to be a senior, yeah.
Not quite there yet, thanks.
Well, you know.
Not anymore.
Do we currently have, or are we planning to have some sort of we talked about kind of education with point of sale. I think for a similar aspect here, if we're hosting a farmer's market, there might be residents that would be inspired to participate, but they might not know exactly how to start that process. And it's very easy to get lost in the interwebs when you're just clicking links.
Sure. You know, since this is new to all of us, I would highly recommend that they come talk to us directly, because as we learn, we will be able to share that information more. And our goal in shadowing these people is that we become the experts here in Kennedale. So if people do have questions on how to register, for the time being, we will learn with them. But then after that, we will be able to guide people in the right direction.
Has there been any communication with the chamber in terms of kind of creating some sort of partnership or arrangement or and/or benefit for chamber members to also participate or incentivize participation? Vice versa, people who come to the market that might decide to become a member of our chamber to get some sort of incentive on the market itself.
We'll talk about that in a minute.
So on my part now, thank you.
So I have more announcements for you. So to feed off of what you're indicating today, the Chamber of Commerce board meeting was today, which obviously I attended, and we talked about the farmers market, of where we're going, what the plan is. So the ultimate plan is that right now, I want the city to be able to understand exactly what's being asked, and we understand what's being done. So we understand the whole process. After that, as we get through this first one, the idea is that the chamber will provide personnel to also be trained and understand the process as we move forward. As of today, the chamber is on board with that, to be able to, with the idea in 6 months that we understand the process, we understand the relationships that we're building with this current company that's coming in to help us. And that company is willing to train us to make sure we're able to move forward with it. And the chamber is on board for that as well. And at one point, it will be a revenue benefit for them. So that was the idea about it. One of the other things that was discussed was a swag shop, particularly for the city of Kennedale, when we're talking about different shirts that the city may have that could be for purchase. Either being for the car show, if it's hometown Christmas, any event that we have, and we have some type of swag that's available, whatever that is, we have a location that people can go to and make a purchase of that item. I also invited the Kennedale ISD to be a part of it if they would like to come in. And part of that also, if they can man the chamber, it gives a place where people can go and have interaction with the Chamber of Commerce to give that resource of a business. If we're wanting to talk about a point of sale, what the chamber has to offer and what we're asking on the EDC side of the chamber to be a part of. So that's another way for our chamber to have some type of revenue. If we put our swag in there, it could be something that we split, say the profits 50-50 or whatever the percentage that comes up. It gives another way for them to have revenue for the chamber itself. With that, we also discuss office space within the chamber building, which EDC owns. So I'm also looking at the idea of leasing office space in that building. And they're open to that suggestion as well, which I strongly encouraged. One of the other things is even possibly bringing in a coffee shop inside the chamber itself. So I've had a couple of coffee shops that had the idea of coming in, and as you walk in, that may be the section, for instance, that may be for lease for a coffee shop. There's also a space for board meetings or meetings in general that can be leased out or rented out for office space. If you go in the back of the chamber building, there's 2 other office areas that can be leased or at least a shareable office space for the chamber. If there's a coffee shop or anything that goes along that would help build revenue for the chamber and be able to grow and have a place for businesses to come and be a part of it. So there's a lot of discussion that's going around with the EDC building, which is the Chamber of Commerce. But the farmers market is one of them, is to start providing a service, providing something to grow from. And that discussion today took place, and they seem to be very open with that idea.
One other question I have for you regarding the farmer's market is, have we city ordinances and how that impacts the market itself?
Yes, well, and that's what the meeting next week is going to be about. What Arlington, or what's the name of it?
Arlington Foodies, and they have
Foods.
3 markets. They've got 2 in Arlington, 1 in Pantego.
So the one in Pantego, the permits that Pantego requires is going to be the same ones we require, which is through the Tarrant County Health. So that's going to be the main connection there. So the vendors that are there, it'll be a really easy transition for them to come to Kennedale. Some of the ones that, for instance, like Arlington has their own health department. So what their permit is for Arlington will not be the same for Kennedale or for Tarrant County Health. So if they're outside of Pantego, they will need to come and get a Tarrant County Health permit. Internally for the here, Fruities will be the one that receives the permit. And as she provides that service to the vendors itself. So each individual vendor will not have to come. It'll be Fruities that comes and gets the permit. And as we move forward, the chamber would be the same resource. They're basically managing the event. Also, I don't know if you mentioned or not, but it'll be the 3rd Saturday of each month. The first one will be April the 20th. But it's scheduled for 8 to 11 every 3rd Saturday.
When you say chamber building, which building is this?
It's the yellow
Okay.
section house. It's right
Yeah,
around-
okay, just making sure I understood, because I don't feel like it's that big. You were explaining all these different facets of the building, I'm thinking. Goodness, is it?
It's a pretty good sized building.
Okay.
It's probably not, the floor plan is probably not ideal, but it actually does have quite a bit of space in it. It has 6 exterior doors. So there's quite a bit of room. It's just the layout is probably not ideal for a lot of things. But some of the things, if you have an office space that you're just needing an office, I think it fits fairly well for that.
I think one of the exterior doors is the outdoor bathroom.
That could be a benefit.
Can you elaborate on that?
That would be a great office.
Well, when we're talking about a food truck, so if you look at the back of it, if you come into town center, but if you look at the back of the chamber building, there's like a patio area, and that would be honestly a very good place for a food truck if they want to come in and partner with the chamber, that they can park there and they can actually have a seating area if they wish to do so. So there are some benefits if a food truck wouldn't mind being behind the chamber building, particularly if they already have a clientele built up and they actually know where they're at. So it could be a very beneficial revenue for the chamber or the EDC to lease that area.
Have we established how many vendors will fit in our market, or what the size of our market is going to be?
Well, there's a couple of questions that came up yesterday, I believe, of how much space for like a fire. Yeah, I guess a fire lane between each vendor.
Right, yeah, and so we actually talked to the fire department already, and he did not believe that there was something like that, but he's double checking because the fire marshal is on vacation, so we're gonna wait. When we meet with her, we're going over spaces, how much space each place needs, and then looking at the actual footage that we have available. So those are all going to be solidified next week.
If we have 60 vendors come in, I think we have the room to accommodate that. The area that we generally have all of our events is where the vendors will be located as well. If there's an overflow for say, it'll be on the northern side of that general area. There's no turnaround, so I don't know what to call that area.
I call it the in and out.
Yeah.
In and out parking. So
Maybe
be on the
we
north
take
side.
Time and maybe start putting signs up and we can call it parking lot A, B, so we don't have to describe it all the time. Just as me thinking out the box, but.
Well, it helps. But to say that, if the event continues to grow and it becomes more than what we have room for, that's a great problem to have.
And Elizabeth, in your dealings, has there been an established cost associated with someone who wants to become a vendor?
They charge
plot?
like the
Yeah.
monthly fee, $35 right now, and that covers different aspects of what they offer. And as a matter of fact, they are taking care of all of that. For the time being, all we're doing is shadowing what they do. So as we go along, we'll definitely have to come back and ask, if the chamber is taking it over, they'll have to determine what that number is going to be later.
Is it this, I'm sure that they probably have sponsors. Is it the same with the sponsors? If someone wanted to sponsor, say, the Kennedale Market, they would go through them as well?
Correct.
Then would
And
sponsorship apply to all of their markets or just?
we haven't had any conversations about sponsorships for our market at all. Yeah. As a matter of fact, the conversation that we had last week was really about numbers of vendors and whether or not we were going to be able to find enough vendors, because farmers markets are extremely popular and there are not that many vendors. So they're already committed in a lot of different places. And so it's on us to help her locate possible vendors and produce suppliers that will actually participate in our farmers market.
And I think you've already answered this question, but I do have a produce vendor that wants to participate in another possible. Is it better for me to direct them to contact you directly and go through you? And
You can do that, yeah. They can also go to the Arlington Foodies page. For now, none of our information is actually up there yet, so it might be better to come through us until we actually get that established.
Daryl, when we're doing events like this, we're kind of taking over the town center. Is there any coordination we have to do with Hughes Commercial?
Say that last part.
Is there any coordination we have to do with Hughes when we're kind of walling off the parking lots and doing other things like that? Do we need to let them know? Is it, just curious, down the road, is that a step in the checklist we have to be aware of?
Yes, I get with Craig Hughes on any of our events. I try to get him involved in it and more than anything, help us market that to our customers and to our current resident or leasees that's in the town center so we can get them involved. But he is aware of all of it. The little strip, the parking, that's actually City of Kennedale property. It's not his. But we do coordinate that with Craig as well.
So this might be tangent to the farmer's market, but kind of in line with that and going back to our last session when he spoke. Would that ever change if I forget what he called it. If he exercises the agreement, the land becomes his after the stipulations of the contractor met, would we ever not have access potentially? And we might not know this tonight, something to think about later. Would we ever not have access to use the town center for these kind of events? Something to kind of think about for down the road.
Yeah, I think that's always could be a topic that's going to be discussed. How it's currently built, it is built for the town center plaza. for the park itself. The buildings have their own parking for say, and that's the reason why parking lot A that he likes to refer to, it is for the park itself. So it currently is made for that. So, but yes, there's a lot of changes that may take place as we move forward dealing with the Town Center Plaza.
I was just kind of joking on giving it, but in all reality, that's going to be Lot 8, where that parking lot is under the current contract. So the city of Kennedale does own it, so. And I guess that's what we can start doing by naming them by the buildings. And that will designate those parking areas like 1, 2, 3, 4, and 5 and stuff like that, so.
Sorry, for all reports and announcements, one other thing, I did trade emails with Craig regarding hosting a Tesla supercharger. So he did say he signed up for that. Don't know what will happen with that, but he said he signed up, so we'll see if that goes anywhere.
Thank you, Elizabeth. Great job.
Now, work session item B, I believe we just covered item B. Is there any more discussions or requests for clarifications on anything on the agenda? Item 3, on regular session, A, reports and announcements. Item 1, financial reports from the EDC.
Good evening. How are y'all doing? Well,
Good.
great. Good to hear it. All right, I'll be quick. We're a third through the year, so 33%. When you look at our revenues, David, there's only one page, so I'll okay. I won't go back and forth. That's all I'm getting at. On the revenues, you can see last year through January was 21%. Currently, we're at 49.8%, and the main culprit of that is proceeds of a land sale at 1170 East Kennedale Parkway. That was $270,592, so that's what's primarily driving that revenue number ahead of our normal pace. When you look at the operating expenditures, one line down, you see the prior year we were at 22%. Right now we're at 50.9%. Similar to the revenue, the main driver on that does involve land. There were 5 different parcels of land purchased. We had the unaddressed Eden Road property and 4 parcels in Oak Crest. It was $6,600 for Eden Road, and Oak Crest ends up being a little bit over $180,000, almost $181,000. Beyond that, we are similarly in pace to last year. And I'll open it up to questions from there.
Did you say our sales tax revenue is on pace as last year?
Our sales tax, similar to with the city as a whole, our sales tax is a little behind pace, less than 2%. I don't see any reason to have concern right now because we're pacing. Of course, it's a function of the city, so we're pacing the same as we did with the city budget, but we're slightly behind, but also because we had such a big rally at the end of last year that was quite frankly unexpected. I'm not too concerned with our sales tax revenue right now.
Do you see a trend of it being that number?
It's been a little behind the prior year's pace so far throughout the year. So we're consistent. I just don't see any reason to be concerned right now. You'll know at the city council meeting a week before if I do. Well, 3 or 4 of y'all will.
No questions? Thank you.
All right, appreciate it, guys.
We have moved to, anybody want to approve the financials as presented?
Move to approve the financials as presented.
Second.
All in favor? All right, unanimous. Thank you. Item B, consent agenda.
I make a motion, we approve this consent agenda.
Second.
All in favor of consent agenda approval? Thank you. Minutes are approved. Darrell? Do you have an executive session? You do have an executive session. We'll now enter into, it is 7:26, we'll enter into an executive session pursuant to 551.071, consultation with the city attorney pertaining to any matter in which the duty of the city attorney under Texas disciplinary rules of professional conduct may conflict with the Open Meetings Act, including discussion of items posted on the agenda, legal issues regarding the Open Meetings Act. B, pursuant to 551.072, the deliberation regarding the purchase, exchange, lease, or value of real property. And C, pursuant to 551.087, deliberation regarding commercial or financial information that the governmental body has received from a business prospect that the governmental body seeks to have locate, stay, or expand in or near the territory of the governmental body, and with the governmental body is conducting economic development negotiations, or to deliberate the offer of financial of other incentive or business prospects described by subdivision. Thank you.
Motion to adjourn.
Second.